Alrighty, we are back with another amazing guest, Mr. Kevin Marron, 35 plus years in entrepreneurship in the blue collar space, the founder of the Blue Collar Millionaire Group, which, guys, if you're not in this group on Facebook and you're in the home services, blue collar space, you need to go join this group. Over 200,000, I think approaching what, 250,000 plus people?
230.
230,000 people in this Facebook group, learning how to become millionaires in the blue collar space. And I'm just so excited to have Kevin here, serial entrepreneur, and truly has a go-giver's heart in helping serve other business owners that are trying to create the same success that he's created. And so, Kevin, would love for you to share your story. I mean, you have, from meeting you at the blue collar dinner, a few months back, and, kind of hearing some of your story. Would love for everyone to be able to hear your story of like how this began, like how this journey began of you getting into business and then fast forwarding to where you're at today. And then, as we always do, then we'll kind of unpack some of that into how people can shorten their path to getting to seven figures, multi-seven figures that much faster.
Okay, well, thanks very much for having me on, Cody. I really appreciate it, and I really enjoyed meeting you at my dinner. That group is free. I like to give information. I want guys to win. I want guys to do it faster than I did. I want them to do it with less stress too, because it's stressful.
Yes.
And I can tell you, and I'll tell you a little bit about my story, and you can see where I hit those stress landmines, and it's not fun. I started really, really early, as a teenager, cutting lawns like a lot of people, but I saw opportunity to build a business with that. I never really, I understood people getting jobs, of course, but when I was looking at when I was a teenager, people back then making $4 an hour. I had a sister 5 years older than me. She was running an entire video store at 16, 17 years old, and she was making like $4.85 an hour. And I remember, my dad and I used to go pick her up at night. It would be like midnight. She would be stressed out, and I think, what is going on here? We're like, I'm cutting lawns, and I make like 10 or $12 an hour. And she's like got all the heat, and we have to go pick her up. Like, this makes no sense. So I would ask my dad stuff. What is going on here? And he would say, do what you want to do. That makes more sense. So I really ran with that. By the time I was 17, I already had a commercial mower. I was getting accounts. So I built that up. I didn't go to college. It was very upsetting to my parents. And
Same. I love it.
I just do what I want to do, and I knew. I mean, when it looks back, I knew better. So that was where my energy was. I built that up. I started buying real estate kind of with the lawn cash. Like I was living under my means. I wasn't going around buying stupid shit because I was making kind of a lot more money than my friends. Started buying real estate. Loved that. Was getting bumps in that. I sold the landscaping business. I think I was 26 or 27, hundreds of thousands. So pretty nice back then. I took that money, bought more real estate. But the real reason I saw trends in that where a lot of the labor that I was using, they were each year, one or two guys was like, hey, I'm going to start my own thing. And they had a bigger labor pool. And I saw a trend going the wrong way. And I thought, hey, if I'm in here and I'm 30 years old, I'm going to be competing against all kinds of people for probably lower prices. And that's exactly what happened. But while I was doing the gutters, while I was doing the lawn, some people were asking me to do the gutters. You can do an entire leaf cleanup back then for, say, $150, and you got two guys out there and you're moving leaves. And then I could clean their gutters in like literally 10 minutes for $100. And I was like, man, I'm in the wrong business here. So that last year, I knew I was going to sell it. I started building, really going hard on the gutter. So I was getting hundreds of houses. So I took that money, put some money in real estate, had enough money where I was like, hey, I don't really have to make money for a year or so. I'm going to build this. And then I built the gutter route. I started building with houses. But to tell you what I saw then, of course, now your mind's on something different. I'm not thinking about lawns. I'm thinking about gutters. Now I'm driving down highways and seeing apartment complexes with debris all over the roofs. And I'm like, whoa, fuck houses. I need to get these. And I was a ballsy guy, young guy. I just started walking in on these places. And I mean, when I didn't do like, oh, I'll walk into a couple. I was walking into 24 a day. Why 24? Because that's basically 3 an hour. I would line it up. There was no Google Maps or anything. You had the big maps back then. You had to do it.
Drawing it out,
Yep.
you know.
And I would get a lot of, and I was the only one doing it, so I was getting them, and then I would basically get some, and then on Friday I'd go do a complex. Then the next week I'd have Thursday and Friday packed up. I built all that up. This is when things changed for me. That was going really well. I built that up. I was making more money than I was in landscaping in less time because it was very seasonal. I was in New Jersey. I started, one of the guys who was working for me had been previously a union roofer. He was like, man, all these complexes need roofs. I started getting roofs. Everything's going good, but I was still doing the real estate. And for the people who are my age, they know what happened in real estate in the early 2000s. It shot up. And especially around 2003, 4, 5, and even 2006. And I took my eye off the ball. It's probably the biggest mistake of my life, definitely business-wise. And I started neglecting my cash cow business. And I started seeing, this is easier, this is more fun. I like how this feels. I'm a real estate guy. I was reading Trump books before Trump was the president. He was the art of the deal and all that. And I'm like, man, this is fun. I'm going to be this guy. I'm going to make millions, and I'm going to have this. And I got over leveraged. And then in 2007 in New Jersey, 2008 everywhere, that rug got pulled out. And yeah, it was painful. I had a lot of debt and a lot of things, and it took me years to rebuild that, but I rebuilt it through the gutter business. I said, hey, I got to make this so good, and I had no credit and essentially no money and a lot of debt, so it was very hard to do. And that's what I've built over the last 15, 17 years now. And it's been phenomenal. Really, by 2014, I had that thing really humming, making a lot of money. Everything was good, and I was good. And then that's when you have that shiny new object syndrome a lot of us have. I started looking at other things. I'll do this. And I said, no, don't do that. Last time you did this is what happened. I was looking back at real estate. So I really stayed in that for another 4 or 5 years, saved a lot of money. And that's when I said, all right, now I'm at a point where I can buy some real estate. I could buy some other businesses. But the way I did it, Cody, which was smart, was this time I said, hey, I'm not going to try to do it all. I'm going to stay focused on what I'm doing, and I'm going to put money in and partner with people who they feel passionate about what they're doing and this thing, and get behind them, and then I can ride this wave with them and give them, my experience and all the stuff that worked for me. That's it in a nutshell. And now 2025, that idea I had in 2018 and now has worked incredibly well.
It's so cool. Like I love your story, Kevin. And so what's your thought process on like the way that you structure partnerships now? Because you've met a lot of them. I've met a lot of people that they've had just like disaster partnerships that just go sideways and they don't work out. And it's like your model. Like, how's your model breakdown? Where it's like, okay, like you're buying the business. You're like, I've seen like posts you've done in the group of like, I find these young guys to partner with and like plug them in and kind of, work with them. Like what's that model look like? And, what are you focusing on now with these other businesses that you're getting into?
Well, there's a lot of things I think about on that. One, well, I'll get to the partners in a minute, but I want a business where I understand the model. I use kind of a national model. I did it with Gutter Kings. I'm doing it with an auto glass windshield business now, where it's almost like the Uber model. Like, think of how Uber did cars. I don't want to have hundreds of employees, and I don't want to fight over houses. I like business to business. I like commercial stuff. I like to get those contracts, control the contracts, the money, the invoicing, and then sub out the work. That doesn't mean I do have employees in the auto windshield. For years I did in gutter, but I like that model because it's very scalable. You can do it at your house.
Yeah.
It's very sellable. It's the new model. So if I see a business, I would love to buy a business that's making money on its own. I see clear things to increase it. And then I say, I could actually put this national model in there. And that's what we just did with the windshield business. We bought a business that was in Macon, Georgia. It was making money there. It's still making money there. We've increased it a little bit. But then we brought in this national model, which I'll get to in a second on why the partners matter. But that model now is about 7 times the size of the actual business we bought. 7 times.
Wow.
Not twice as big, because it's so you can grow it so quick. And we took all the kind of things that worked for Gutter King and did it over there.
That's super
The
interesting.
partner, who you do, we'll call it the jockey, whatever you want to do, is super important. People do go into business for the wrong reasons. I see, these are the mistakes I didn't necessarily make, but I saw other people. They go into business because they're friends, or it sounds cool. They go into business with people with very similar skill sets. That's not a good idea. Like, if you're both kind of deal makers, but neither of you's the executioner, and that guy, the person who understands systems, don't do that. You need to have separate things.
Yeah.
But in particular, because I'm 52 and I'm not looking to operate businesses and I don't need to, I look for people that are kind of younger versions of me, very hungry, ambitious, problem solvers, smart. I like an age gap because, let's face it, they're much more likely to listen to you than I'm 52. If there was a 54-year-old, he might not be.
Yeah.
But you get a 31-year-old and he's looking at you and he's saying, I want to do everything this guy did.
Yeah.
And he's got capital and he's telling me ways, and I want to solve problems and help them not make mistakes. Because, so I have partners now, they'll call me and they'll say, hey, you got a minute? I say, of course. And then they'll tell me something and I think I've already went through this like 11 times. So I know the answer, and then I tell them. But let's face it, Cody, we know this. When you're figuring out things on your own, you're making mistakes.
Yep.
Or it's taking a long time to figure it out. And then you only have one brain power with just whatever your vision is on that business. So we have more than one on that, and I like that. But I want to know those partners. I need to know people before. It's part of the reason I do the dinners. It's part of the reason I do a lot of calls. I do Zooms. In that, the last 2 businesses I bought with people, a roofing and that windshield, they were in Blue Collar Millionaire. I got to know them. I started talking about other deals with them. I saw that they were super prepared. When they brought the numbers and the profit, like, they were all dialed in. Some guys will just say, hey, what do you think of this business? And literally send you a copy paste of a biz buy. Like, what am I going to do with that? Like, get your shit together. So then I feel like, okay, this person's diligent. I want to see that they have wins before. Maybe they had a win in a W-2. They were able to move up in that position. Or that's important to me if they're W-2. They can't be like somebody, I don't want to offend somebody, but you're making $47,000 a year and you're 31. What the hell were you doing for the last 10 years? I want to see, like, okay, you're 31 and you're already up at 120. You started at 47 and you moved. Because now I know you have that grit, that hustle, and you can do it. But maybe in both those cases, they looked at it and they say, hey, I don't see this getting me to be a multimillionaire and getting me to have the life I want with my family. And I see something Kevin's doing and I like it. So, and then the last part, one of them, I had a war room where I was teaching guys to buy business, and I was watching one of them. He was in it, and he just, like, every week he was bringing deals. He was prepared. He was a dynamic guy. We were like, I knew this guy's going to make money. He's going to do this. And there was guys in my group where I thought they're not going to do it. That's just, so I wanted to get around people, get behind him. So he brought a deal to the group that was his deal, and he had some money, but he didn't have a strong enough financial picture for the bank to lend on it. So he said, hey, you like this deal, would you, and of course now we're friends, we're talking on the phone, he says, would you like to get in on this? Would you sign on it for equity and mentorship? So I said, yeah, let me talk to this banker. You know, SBAs, they want you to give them all kinds of info. I just called up my guy, I said, hey, I'll give you the cash for this, fuck the bank, and we'll do it. And then I brought my partner in Blue Collar Millionaire, Chris Garrison. I said, you want to do this with them? And then we structured a deal for them where they got equity in the beginning. They had a little bit of contribution to it. I always want some guys to have skin in the deal. I mean, there's a big contribution. They were leaving jobs with health benefits and everything because there was 2 of them. And then we said, hey, EBITDA is here. If you raise it to these levels, this is how your equity will increase and this is how ours will go down.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually, when my equity has gone down, I make more money because it's just because everything's going up.
Yeah.
So that's who I look for. So I'm always talking to guys in Blue Collar Millionaire and seeing where they're at. I don't like startups. I want businesses that are making money day one.
Mm-hmm.
I've done startups. I'm sure you have. Everybody has. It's way easier to buy something and fix it.
Yes.
It's almost like building a house. If you take a house from the 1990s and it's got some good bones, you can go in there and make that thing look really nice in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Put a new kitchen, do this thing. But if you have to go and get permits and build a house, we got a whole nother thing. I don't want to do that. I want to go in there and fix it up, get that thing cash flowing, and then I have options. Do I want to go sell it? Do I want to keep it going? How big can I get it? And I'm talking with my partners on that. So that's what I'm looking to do.
It makes a lot of sense, and it's cool how, you know, it's like you're building in, like, you know, upside for those partners that are in the deal. You know, are you typically like keeping majority, you know, ownership in those deals then for the control, or no?
No, you know, Chris and I had the majority in this one because we brought the money, but because it's growing so fast, it's by the end of this year, everybody will be 25, 25, 25, 25. There's 4 of us. That's a good question. I don't want, I used to want 100% of everything. You heard the term, you get 100% of a grape or a chunk of a watermelon. I want chunks of watermelons.
Yeah. I guess I more so mean like the control to protect your money in the deal versus like caring about how much equity, but just like control of like your investment.
I'll tell you how I do that. So
yeah.
Anytime I buy a business, one of the things I'm doing, it's required, I'm going to set up a fractional CFO. He's going to be a third party. I have more than one, but in particular, I have one that I really like. He's had well over 100 decamillion exits in the blue collar space to private equity. Wow. He's been doing this a long time. He's the guy for that. I don't want partners sending me reports on financials, everything. Then I have my own systems of either I am or somebody on my team that's separate from them is looking at the finances, looking at credit cards, looking at banks. Trust and verify. You know, right? Trust but verify. You have to do this. Mm-hmm. And then I'm watching those things, so nothing's gonna pop up like 6 months later. Like, hey, I didn't know he did that. I only spent 40 grand on that. What happened? Like, I would know real quick. But with that fractional CFO, we're meeting every Friday. We're looking at deposits. We're looking at workflows. We're looking at comparisons. And I'm on all those calls. I enjoy those calls. I like numbers. And I want to know what's going on. So that's a great way to relieve stress and pressure from those partners. But also you have a third party looking at it they're not going to. None of my partners have stolen from me. But we all know that this can happen.
Yeah.
People can cook the books. They're like, shit, we're losing money. I'll just fix this for a month or 2 and tell him we're at here and I'll figure it out, and they never will. So I want to have that. But that's part of buying a business is it has cash flow that can afford things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's going to be able to pay the partner's salary and some health benefits and everything to get them going. And then it's going to be able to pay a fractional CFO and have some cash. And then I want them to be really focused on fixing that business and growing that business.
That makes a lot of sense.
So
Super cool.
That's how I do it.
So I'm curious on this model. I mean, you peaked. I wasn't going this direction, but then now I had to go this direction because of the model of like outsourcing all of the labor, right? So I'm curious. So like with, I think I had told you, but I bought, you know, a little over majority stake in this cleaning company last year in Arizona. And when I came in, they had 14 cars, only 12 of them were running like actually like super efficient. And fast forward a year, we're at 22 cars, and we're almost full on car 21, 22 that we got last month. So like we're getting good growth, and we've been looking at changing up the model. Like it was just W2 cleaners, and now we've moved them to 1099, and we're working on, like you said, like the Uber of the gutter cleaning, or these other models. And I'm curious what your thoughts on that for, I guess, maybe the cleaning business, because we moved them to 1099, and we have a bunch of company cars, and so like we're changing it where they have to, like, they pay per mile to use them, and for the materials, because to stay compliant with the labor laws on 1099. But something we were kicking around the idea of, we're like, maybe we should just have the model be, we are like the cleaning company, the brand, and we, like we just have a ton of ads going out to get cleaners, and then they could choose their path. It's like, we have cars, you can rent our car to use during the cleans and the supplies, or you could use your own car, and like we just use our marketing sales engine to bring in the clients, and then we do our routing system to make sure they're efficiently doing those cleans. What
Yeah.
are your thoughts from your experience and like kind of like
I got
outsourcing
I got a
the
lot of
labor?
thoughts on it, and I like that you're doing that. So this is how I look at it: is the way I would do it. So you need good margins on it to do it, because they're going to incur some new costs if they're going to be truly 1099, because
Yep.
they're going to have insurance and everything
Yep.
like that. Now we're both doing cleaning, but I like gutter cleaning because there's high margins on it, because you're basically up on roofs and apartment complexes, and people don't want to do it. There's much bigger margins on the commercial than there is residential. Although I could do it gutter cleaning with residential, I would assume that's the same as for cleaning, because I do know some people who do this model with cleaning. I looked at a business about 4 years ago. The guy was 100% doing subbing it out, and he had pretty good margins. He was doing about 3 million a year.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we make about 18% or whatever.
That's literally
Here,
what our numbers, like, we're trending for. We'll probably close a little under 4 million this year, and we're at 18.5% on
okay.
net, and our gross is just over 50% right
So,
now.
so the way I would do it with you is the way I did it. So in 2000, I think it was 14, I had 100% employees all the way up to that point. I had done some sub thing because I had to in 2009, because I just didn't have the cash flow to pay people. So I found some people and I said, hey, I have these complexes. I'll give you 70%. I'll keep 30%. But remember, there's good margins on there. And they were guys that I knew that knew how to do that. Actually, some of them were guys who had worked for me for landscaping and went and started their own landscaping business.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, but here's the thing. I'm not going to pay you till I get paid. So
Hmm.
I did that, and that model worked good. I didn't like giving the whole 70% up, because in gutters, when you have employees and you're paying them back then $160 a day or something, you could be taking 80%. Like, it's massive. But anyway, so going up to 2014, I started getting so many, and some of the places were far away. They were like 45 minutes away from another job, and now you got 4 guys in a van. So I started going on Craigslist and different Facebook groups or whatever, and meeting guys. And then I would talk to them, and if I felt comfortable, I'd give them one little small job. And then I'd give somebody a small job. For us might be $800, like 3 buildings or 4 buildings, whatever it is. And I would pay them. I wasn't paying them a percent. I would just tell them a number of my own formula, like $487.33 or whatever. And I said, and I'll
Yeah.
pay you. You send pictures in, and I'll pay you 70% within 48 hours and 30% within 7 days, so I can make sure there's no problems.
Yeah.
And people went for it, and they liked it. And when guys did it, they would be calling me and texting me like, you got more, you got more. So I started slowly giving away employee work and doing that. And very quickly I saw, wow, this is easier because the margins are, you know exactly what you're in. You don't have to deal with weather, snow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's the thing: if you got four guys and they're doing a job and they go out there and it starts raining and they come home, like you lost money that day.
Yep.
But when it's a subcontractor, you don't, because you
They
just
do the
told them
job or the job wasn't done. Period.
that was either or. I was still paying the money up front to employees, so it wasn't really a cash flow issue for me. Um, so I started doing that slowly. And then here's what you could do. What I did was I took my best employees between 2015 and 2017, and I was watching that model go. I should have did it earlier because it was clear in 2015 and 16 it was working. But what I would do is I'd have a van, a Gutter King van. It had all the ladders, everything you need is in there, right? And then I would say, hey, you see what I'm doing with subcontractors, so your job is somewhat on the chopping block at some point. Do you want to become a subcontractor, and I'll sell you the van for this amount of money? I'd give them a good deal. Maybe it was all worth 20. I'd say, I'm going to give it to you for 18 grand at 0% interest for 12 months, and you pay me off my own jobs. But in order to do that, you got to set up and get a tax ID. You got to get insurance. I'm going to connect you with this insurance agent who can get it, and I'm going to feed you work. And yeah, you can go do your own work on everything, but I'm going to give you a lot of work. So now I had people who knew how to do it really fast. I could trust them, and all of the guys except one that I asked took it.
Wow.
There were some guys I didn't offer to who wanted it, but I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't really want to do it with them.
Yeah.
So, and then those guys went and did their own things. And then I found better ways. I found other ways to get subcontractors. And then I had one of my employees, he stayed. I didn't want him to do it. He didn't have any cash, and he just wasn't good with money. He was going to flop on that, but he was good worker. And he used to go around state to state, and we would have jobs lined up. We would bring 3 potential subs, and he would basically in a day work with each of them for 3 hours and show them everything we do, give them like all the tips and the tricks to do it. And then he would just be messaging me, and he'd say, yeah, this guy is going to be good. This guy, no, I don't like his attitude. He doesn't listen. He's not listening to me. And that's how we did it. We built all these subs all over the East Coast and Midwest doing that.
That's super cool. And then it's like you can, like, as demand increases, you just send out more opportunities, or if there's not as much demand, you're not like that. That was the thing that we've been going back and forth, because we're like, all right, now it's like we have 44 cleaners, and it's like it's like there's a lot of cleaners now, and it's like, we're getting more and more. And so we literally, this, like, for quarter 3, we're about to do our rock planning. We run on traction, so we're like, do we go all in on that and have that be the method? And we're like, okay, we could have those 2 options. Like, they use their own car. Like, we show them the way that we do the cleans, because it's the way that we sold the client. So, like, they need to do it the way that the client was sold, right? So it's like we show them how to do it, and then they could let us know, do you want to work 3 days a week, or do you want to have opportunities of jobs 5-6 days a week, because we clean Monday through Saturdays, and be able to just kind of build this database of cleaners. And it's just, they can opt in to do work or not do work. And, it's like kind of that. So that's kind of what we've been thinking.
Having them do it, everything the exact same way is the way. So I had that one guy doing it, but I had other guys teaching subs too early on. And we used to have a 10,000 building club. That means you did 10,000 buildings. That's a lot of buildings. That's how long I had guys. They had a sweatshirt with the Gutter King, and it said it in English and Spanish, the 10,000 building club. It's like wearing a black belt if you go into a jiu-jitsu thing. If people really... So when those guys gave these guys who maybe had done 100 houses in their life, this guy would show them all kinds of ways. And it was super rare where a new sub would say, I don't like the way you guys are doing it. They would normally be like, wow. Because we had it so down to all the equipment, to the ladders, to how we set them up, to how we thought. Because I used to think about that for hours all the time when I was laying in bed. How do I do this faster, safer? I would like think about it like going in like Navy SEALs taking out Bin Laden. Like that's how we have
Yeah.
to attack complexes. Like if we save 3 or 4 minutes on every building, we were doing hundreds of buildings a day, hundreds.
Yeah.
That's over a course of a company. That's massive. So we
Mm-hmm.
taught that to these guys, and a lot of these guys went and got hundreds of houses, and they use the same methods, so they win too.
Yeah.
And my line would always be, I'm not your employer, but I'm going to be your best customer. I'm going to give you so much work you don't even know what to do with it
Yeah.
if you do a good job. But the great thing is, I always have a couple subs, sometimes five in certain markets, more than one sub in every market. And if one guy's fucking up, doesn't do a good job, is not being responsive, it's not even me, my team of VAs, they'll just unplug them.
Yeah. It's just like, all right, we're not putting you on any jobs.
Yeah, they'll always like, well, hey, what's going on? I haven't gotten anything in 2 weeks. And like, hey, you didn't, it took you 4 days to get back to us on that other thing. Or you were complaining about pricing or whatever it is. But we have some of the same guys from 2015, many of them, and they're making hundreds of thousands a year because they give them so much work.
So cool.
So
Man.
I like the method. You could do similar to that, but I like a hybrid method, Cody, for you in the beginning where you have employees, but maybe you try it once or twice, and then you start moving them over. And yeah, you have to play by the rules of 1099. So in my case, even though it was my van, I sold it to them. Now their company owns that van and everything. And
Yeah.
even the wording, you can't, they already know how to do everything because you can't like say you have to do this, this, and this and talk to them like they're an employee because they are a sub. They can do what they
Yeah.
want. And
Yeah.
on the scheduling, we say, hey, we're looking to schedule this either Monday or Tuesday next week. And then they say, yeah, I can do it Tuesday. Then we go back to the client. The clients don't even know the difference. They don't even
No.
care.
No. And that was our, what we were looking at was like, well, if we have, we have the cleaners out there, and what we were going to, and this is just part of like, we rolled it out fully yet, but we were thinking it's like, they could just choose their path. It's like, you want to do it, be an independent contractor on your own and use your own vehicle, and you can get supplies from us. And, but this is the checklist. Like, we sold the customer this checklist. So like, you have to do this. Like, so that's, I guess, where, we do have that control. Cause it's like, we told the job that was sold was this. So like, these are the things you have to do at the job.
And because I know you got a lot of listeners that are probably sub $1 million. I'll tell you why this is good for everybody. So there's a lot of, it's not just blue collar guys, but we're talking about blue collar guys. A lot of guys who are really good at their craft. They like to do the work, but they're not really great at marketing or scaling businesses yet. So this is a way that's why I look for, right? Guys who are like, hey, I want to be busy. I want to have some streamlined work and everything. Now they can stay there, and I have some subs that I'd probably say 80% of their work comes from us, and they do some stuff on the side. They really count on us, and that's okay. But you can also use it as a stepping stone, and I'll explain. When I did that landscaping thing, I was only cutting grass and doing like plantings. I had never really done any paver work or walkways. I did like one with my grandfather and one with somebody else when I was young. I didn't know what I was doing. I met an older guy, and I was working with him on the weekends and learning keystone walls and all kinds of stuff. I got it really quickly. And then he said he was getting so much work. He said, hey, I have some jobs I can't get to. They're too far away. If I line it up, can you do it? And basically he was subbing it out to me.
Yeah.
So then I was doing those on the weekends, and I would make a lot of money on them. He would make some money, but what that did was I was always like thinking, how do I get my own jobs? But then I had confidence. I had credibility because I now have done 7 or 8 of these jobs. So then I was going to my own customers and doing it. That's very different than asking your customer day one, like, hey, let me figure this out on your shit. I was essentially figuring it out on his stuff.
Yeah.
But I was making money. So you can do it any way you want. You could say, hey, I like sub work. Just keep giving me sub work for a decade. Or you could say, let me take it for a year, stack up money, and then I'll go buy my own stuff. And there's nothing wrong. The guy had no problem with me doing that because after about a year, or not even 6 months, I said, hey man, I got too much of my own work.
Mm-hmm.
And we were still friends, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because we think like that, right? We're like,
Yeah.
I'll just go get my own, cut him out.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the topic of the, bringing it back to, people that are sub $1 million a year, they're wanting to get their business over $1 million a year in revenue. It's like, I think the number, it's like 70 or 97% of businesses never make it past $1 million a year in revenue. What are the things that you see as like the common factors that cause a business to get over $1 million a year in revenue? Like, what are the things that people aren't doing that they need to be focusing on more, that you see as trends over and over again to actually get
Right.
past that mark?
There's many things, but I see this. Let's just talk about sales and outreach. In order to get over 1 million, if you're at 500,000, you have to have more proposals out, right? You have to have more contact, more opportunity, more times where people want to buy from you. So you have to create those. And what I see in Blue Collar Millionaire, and I don't want to be one of these old heads, but a lot of people they only want work that comes to them. So that's SEO, like somebody clicked and called them, or they sent out not even sent out a mailer, it came back, or
Yeah.
somebody gave them a referral and it's nice and warm. I like all those things, and you should do all those things. But I would be aggressive in my actions to get more work and cold outreach and to force sales, but not aggressive with the customer. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of ways to do that. I don't want to say if I was really small, anybody should do this. I knocked on so many doors and I got so much work. That drives me nuts when a person's doing work in a neighborhood, and I know guys who do work in my neighborhood, and they only have me. Like, everybody in my neighborhood needs their lawn cut. Everybody needs the power washing I just got. While you're packing, your two guys are packing up, go talk to the neighbors and just say, hey, or say before, hey, we're over here pressure washing. We're going to have cones set up. I don't want to disrupt you, just letting you know. And then maybe you go at the end of the day, hey, and just letting you know we're leaving out. But I noticed on the back side you got algae. I saw that in the back. Would it be okay if I price that out for you? Like, that's so easy. I was doing that. So be aggressive in what you're doing. Use social media and be interesting and aggressive. Don't just post up pictures and hope shit hits the fan. Like, tell a story about how you helped customers. Tell them so it relates. You're writing the story, but it's about other people. It's how I built Blue Collar Millionaire. I'm writing about me, but I'm really writing about all the people who became members because they want to do it. So use social media. It's free. It's awesome. Cold outreach, any business should be reaching out to business, property managers, realtors, going to apartment complex, condo, and you can walk right in there, call them, email them, text them, but you have to be consistent. You should have no dead time if you're down. If you're under $1 million, there's no days off. Every day you're either doing the work, and at night you should be doing all your invoicing, all paperwork. During the day, all you do is actual physical work, or you're soliciting. There's no other options. That's what I did. All that other shit, do it at night, and it's like you're forcing that growth. I want to reach out. I'll give you a quick example. I'm on walk every day. I see it all. I see opportunity every day for blue collar guys. I see a house just went for sale in my neighborhood, and I see the sign go up and everything. This is one thing I did, and I would do it. So this is any type of business, basically, especially a handyman or something that could get that house prepared for sale. I'd go by, I'd take a picture of that house with the sign. I'd go look at that sign. I'd see they got a phone number on it. They got a website. You can get the person's email on Hunter.io. I'm emailing, calling that person and say, hey, I was doing another job down the street. I saw that you're selling this house. If you're a handyman, say, hey, I know you're probably going to have a punch list of stuff. If you're looking for somebody who can solve those problems like in 48 hours and super responsive, I'm your guy. Just help me out. That's how I would do it. I used to do it for roof cleaning or power washing or landscaping. Anytime I saw houses for sale, I was contacting that realtor. I got tons of work off that. And you think, well, that sounds simple. how many houses do people pass by and they never do it? So I like a simple, keep it simple, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Do what other people won't. Other people won't do that simple, basic thing to realtors. I
It's
mean, if I told you
crazy.
I did it 1,000 times in my 20s, I wouldn't be lying. And I
And
got a
and
lot of
and
work.
that's something that's free to do.
Great.
There's a pool service company that they do the cleanings and maintenance work and stuff. And I had one of my partners in the cleaning business. He brought me out on. We went out on the boat, and he's like, "You got to meet these guys. Maybe you could buy their business and work with them and help them scale." And we were talking about realtors. Like, this is for anyone, like you're saying, that does any home service. Realtors are some of the best contacts that you could have. And with the cleaning business, like, here's a simple thing for everyone, regardless of what you do. Every home, like 99% of them anyways, they go through a home inspection, and there's always a list of repairs that need to be done on that property. And most of the time, the realtors don't have the relationships for the vendors for all that stuff. Like, they just tell their client, "Oh, we got to find someone to fix this stuff." And so one of the things that we do with the cleaning business is, like, we have VAs that do outreach. Every single time a property that's listed goes pending, we have our team reach out to the agent as soon as it goes pending. "Hey, congratulations on 123 Main Street. We saw that it just, your client's home just went pending. We just wanted to let you know we're a local cleaning company in the area, and we know that there's likely going to have to be a move out clean that has to be done. We'd love to, put our name in the hat, whatever." Right? So it's like, that's something
Love
that
it.
anyone can do. Like, if you do HVAC, you do roofing, like any of those things. Once it's pending, it's like all of the conversations and negotiations around repairs and everything start to happen. And the other thing that we do too is, then once the property closes, we have a VA do outreach to to whoever the new buyer is. Like, we'll pull their data off of the tax records online, and we'll cold call them. "Hey, congratulations on moving into 123 Main Street. We're a local cleaning company. They're in a new home. They probably don't have a cleaner that they're already working with." And, like, all services could do that same thing.
I love that, and it's so easy. So I'll give you another example, very similar to that I did is, so back when those moving signs, this is in the 90s, I'd see moving signs. I know when that person moves and the new person moves in certain neighborhoods, they weren't going to cut their lawn. It was like $1 million house in the 90s, which is like 3 million now. There's no chance. So I had a notebook, and I was calling the realtor, but then I would say, "This house, is up for sale. It's June 15th." And then I had my little route, and I was looking. When I saw that house got sold, I would make a note, and then I would go walk on that door for the new owner. And I would do it on a rainy day, because you can't cut grass, you can't do stuff in the rain. I had friends who it was raining, they were landscapers, they would be getting drunk or watching movies. I would be doing that. I mean, the response to those people was so positive. I would say, "Hey, I'm doing 2 houses down the street. I know just moved in. I love this town. I went to high school here. It's a great town. Do you have kids?" I would start doing that, and then say, "Hey, can I walk around your property?" or whatever it was. I mean, I got so many. I can't even tell you how many customers I got on that. But that's so easy way to do it. And here's another one you can do if you don't like knocking on doors, or people don't answer the doors, or you're in the neighborhood. You should have a really nice cardstock estimate looking flyer where you handwrite their price in there, put it in a plastic bag, and put it on their door. So I used to get lots of people like that. They'd say, "Hey," and I'd write my name on there. Say, "Hey, Kevin, I got this thing, and yeah, $40 sounds good, and it's like taking orders.
Yeah.
It's I love it because people wouldn't do it. And I pick on blue collar guys because white collar services do all these things. They figure out, insurance guys, they know who's moving and everything, and they're calling these new owners. They're trying to get their insurance.
Yeah.
They're doing all these things. How many landscapers are doing it? How many cleaning companies are doing it? I know that, Cody, that's a great idea what you're doing with that, but I just know they're not getting 7 of those calls. It's not spam to them. It's the only one.
No, that literally, and the thing is, so, like, my background being in real estate, like, as I've held my real estate license for, I've 11 years now. I've never gotten one text message outreach from anyone for like a home service thing. And I've had my my license and my phone number is public because I've just had my license for that many years. I've never gotten one in 11 years text message from someone soliciting home service. I do get messages, people soliciting, like they're like, do you have any discounted properties of clients, or do you have any, your insurance, like your clients, do they need insurance? And like literally like all the white collar, stuff, but like no one is doing that. And the thing is too, is realtors need resources for their clients. Like a lot of their realtors, they'll just send the big box names to do their clients' home, and it's like they're paying like top dollar. Like, no shade on them, but there's a company here called like Parker and Sons, and it's like if they're coming to your house to do a water heater, you're paying like $4,000 for that thing, and it's like it's like they're just calling like the big box like billboard companies because they don't have any resources, and it's like you get to be that resource for your client.
Yeah, I have never gotten a text either for that, but I've gotten texts because I own properties asking me about selling them. I've gotten insurance things. I've gotten loan things, people trying to give you lines of credit because they find out you have a business. I never had a blue collar guy do it. If they got really specific on that, or they said, hey, I drove, because I'm drawing a blank. What's it? The lead service where you can go on, you can click on there, you can skip trace the person's name.
There's a lot of them. Like Batch Leads is a service that I've used. Yeah. Yep.
So if somebody wanted Batch Leads, that was never around. Like I would be doing that in every neighborhood. I would knock on the door and then I would text them. So I went on Batch Leads. I see my phone number and my email on there. They know. They have my personal email. So if somebody said, hey, I have a circular driveway right now, I want to get the pressure wash done. Somebody could be, a VA could be on Google looking at that and just sending me a message. Hey, see, you got a big driveway. It looks like it needs to be done. Why am I not responding that? That's kind of a cool message.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's like there's so many unique opportunities that, and I think it's also the volume too, right? It's like people, like regardless of whether your business is online, blue collar, whatever the business is, I think people also like forget about how much volume you have to do. Like you were talking about knocking 24 properties a day, 3 an hour. And there's people that they think that they're just going to give out like 100 flyers or knock on 10 doors. And it's like, that's going to make a difference. It's like, I think people underestimate the amount of sheer volume you have to do to like get those opportunities.
Yeah, they always do. I hate when people are like, yeah, you put 100 out. What do you get? Like 30, right? No, you get one.
Yeah, you might get one person to call you back pissed off about putting out their house.
In your head that you've got to put 300 out to get one, and then just do the work. Like when I was walking into those complexes, I needed to walk into 24 to get one solid lead, like where they were giving me all the information. Yes, we do it. Yes, we want it. But I was like, I'll do one a day. That's 5 a week. I'll close 2 of them. Now I'm closing 2. At the end of the month, I got 8. And then I'll do the work. But yeah, people they overestimate that and they don't want to put the work. I think it's an incredible place to be in a blue collar service, these companies. So you got to be aggressive and you got to reach out. If you do that and you're tracking your numbers and seeing what's working and what's not, but you got to give it a little time. Can't give it a week. Give it 30 days, 60 days. I like 1,000 as a thing. If I do something 1,000 times, I have an idea what's going to happen after that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that off 30. It doesn't. No. You could get
small
one
sample
in there
size.
And you think it works, or none. But I just love this thing. I think guys can grow it. It's an incredible opportunity to have. And we didn't even get to it, but the whole private equity on the back end, that was kind of unheard of when I was young. Now they're throwing money at people. If you get your shit together and you get that thing up to making money, they're going to come.
Yeah,
they reach out to me.
Yeah. So what do you think? If people they're starting or they're buying in home service businesses right now, like where do you see like the best opportunities from things that you're hearing from like private equity of like the interest of like buying? Like obviously they'll buy anything that they're financial buyers for, but some just get better multiples than others.
Yeah, well, they have the same. They're very smart guys, and they have the same things that I've wanted my whole life. They want repeatable income. So they want to know that they're going to buy something and it's likely that customer buys more stuff from you. So that's generally a lot of businesses that have service agreements and that you're doing multiple times a year, HVAC, plumbing, landscaping, Now because their appetite got bigger, they did get into things like roofing and stuff, which is really one time, but you can make your company much more attractive by getting maintenance agreements on roofs. Do the roof. It's very easy at the end of it. I have a friend in New Jersey has well over 1,000 of these, where he then sells like packages for $600 a month, where it's an inspection thing. He cleans your gutters, and that's very attractive to private equity. Hey, we have this built-in thing. We're in front of these people all the time. We can sell them more things, because private equity wants to own all the services on things. And then even if it's a one-time service like roofing, you have to be able to show them how that is going to continue. How is that likely?
Yeah.
Word of mouth is not likely. Because
Yeah.
that owner goes out and his buddies stop calling him.
Yep.
But if you can show, hey, this is systems I have. I've taught other people to do it, and this is likely to continue. They like it. They also want to know about the addressable market. So, are there more opportunities for them to grow in whatever wherever you are? So, if you're doing houses, are there 10,000 houses there, or are you in a rural area where they don't want to buy that because they can't really grow how they want? They want to like 10x your business, and they have the money to do it. So look for businesses that also are in need. I don't like businesses personally. Look at what I do, windshields, roofs, stuff like that. If it happens, I mean, you're doing that week. You got water in there. Whereas it's not blue collar, but like say some yoga instructor business, like if the economy hits the fan, people aren't going to do that. Or
Yep.
maybe putting in jacuzzis, and you're doing that for pools. Yeah, you can make money on that, but that's not a need, that's a want. I want to have it where everybody needs it.
Yep.
And then I want to figure out how to get a nice flow of customers, and then how to really try to squeeze your profit margins, because every dollar you get on the profit, when you go to sale, it's going to get multiplied. It's multiplied on the EBITDA, which is kind of like net profit. Picking up $100,000 extra in profit, if you're getting an 8x, that's 800 grand on the back end. That's a lot of extra money. So you want to really get those profits and don't have a lot of fluff. That's why I like to run everything lean. I don't own extra vans and buildings and a bunch of shit that you don't need. There's guys driving around in $120,000 pickups. They think, cut that. I like to live you can personally go get that stuff, but I want that business to be super lean.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. And that's where it's been, it's been super interesting for me, is like transitioning from like, I was doing real estate for a lot of years and like flips and all that. So like, I understand like decent enough around trades and like managing projects and all of that from years of doing that. But one of the most interesting things about the home service, blue collar space is really the people that are in it. Like it's a different world that I feel like I've entered in, where everything that I've done as far as like online businesses and like the other stuff, it's like marketing and sales is like this like bloody water, and it's like you're fighting for the marketing and sales side. But and then now going in this space, it's like it's so easy to do the marketing and selling process. It's really more about the building the teams, the quality control, the process, the delivery of the service that, is the more challenging part of it. But I'm like, it's been surprising to see like how easy the marketing and sales part of it is versus, then just making sure your service is really, really dialed in and like your customers are extremely happy with what you do. It's like, it's been this like transition for me. And I'm like, it's crazy. Like how that difference is from, again, like more of the white collar stuff, like bookkeeping businesses and stuff like that. It's like, it's different, and it's exciting for me.
I mean, I saw that so early on. Is I'm actually from a white collar family. My dad was an accountant, my mom was a software programmer, and I was around white collar people. But I saw that blue collar stuff was kind of messy and disorganized, and it still is 30 years later. It's way better than it was, but that's an opportunity for a guy. Like if you take a guy like who has that background in e-commerce or that's why I like partners who come from white collar things. They take a lot of those things and then they put it in the blue collar thing, and they understand the sales process and marketing and sales and all that stuff, and they can be super aggressive. That's what we did in the windshield business. We took a lot of those same things that they had done. And you know, if you go in an insurance agency, any insurance agency in America, they're all out calling. They're all aggressive. They never stop. Constantly, it's an emotion. They're all trying to get more and more leads. When you go into blue collar, you will see, if you hung out with some blue collar businesses, they go days without trying to get leads. They don't even. They're basically kind of putting out fires and trying to manage employees and get jobs done. And that's what you see a lot of blue collar guys. They have a bunch of work, so they take their foot off the gas.
Yeah.
And then that work runs out, and they say,
and then they're
I need leads.
Yeah.
I never stop. Every day. It doesn't have to be you, but it could be your team. It could be VAs, which are awesome. It could be, they have to be hunting every day.
Absolutely.
Never
Absolutely.
stop.
I love that. So I know I want to be respectful of time, and I know we're coming up on towards the end here. So, as we're wrapping up here, Kevin, anything that you would share, just as, maybe like some of the most common advice that you like to give people that are trying to build a business that's not reliant on them, like building a business that creates actual freedom for them, because everyone can have a business that makes great money, but for like, what's that biggest tip to create a business that doesn't become reliant on them? Is
All right,
another
awesome. I'll tell
closing
you
question.
how I did it and how anybody can do it. But here's a simple way: is look at your business today. Take a Saturday, do it or Sunday when you have some time. Make a Google sheet and put everything that needs to be done in that business, like every single thing. You're going to have 100 of them. That's invoicing, that's bookkeeping, that's managing employees, it's sales, it's the actual jobs. And then look at them all, and then in column B, put who does that. And what you'll find is a lot of time it's your name everywhere. And then I say, which ones are these that who would be the easiest to teach somebody else to do?
Mm-hmm.
And then in column C, I make a Word document and I explain how to do that procedure to a 12-year-old. Like if I had to teach a 12-year-old I never met, I got to make this super easy. I write it up. Now you can use ChatGPT. You can speak it in. You can say, make this for a 12-year-old. Incredible resource. And then I do a Loom video and I actually do the task. And but I'm doing it based off of the SOPs and writing what I do it. And now then I say, who could I get to do this? Is it a virtual assistant? Is it something on site? Can I hand it to one of my guys? I used to do it physically in the field with videos. This is how you do things. And I would teach people how to do it. But this can be done for anything: bookkeeping, invoicing, sales, proposals, and you teach it how to do it. And when you're not motivated to do that, you're like, man, I got to write up a document. I got to make a video. Just think, when you get this right, you're retiring from this task. If you do it right, you'll never have to do it again, because you can give it to a team member, or you can hire somebody and now you have stuff for them to do. And if they quit or fire, you have a blueprint. You could just give it to the next person. So don't try to do it all in one day. Just say, okay, here's 100 things. What are 3 I could get rid of? And then do those 3. And then say, okay, what's the next 5? And next thing you know, you got rid of like 20 or 30 of those things. Your life is completely different. And what you're going to find is you're giving those things almost to 1 or 2 people. You don't need 100 of them. And you have to let go of it and be okay with, hey, they might not be as good as me at it, and they're not perfect, but they're going to learn, and you got to be okay with that. Because otherwise, you're just going to look at your phone, and you're going to run around, and you're not going to be present for your family, and you're not going to have a sellable business. It's a crazy, the mindset is, I'm going to do less, but I'm going to teach people how to do things, and I'm going to make more. It is absolutely true. I work by far way, way less than I do in the last 5 years than I did in the first 30. Way less. I was working all day, every day. And I make way more money. That's hard for people to understand. You will make more because you have to help other people be successful and put systems in place. So you're not going to do it in one day or a weekend. Just write it out. Then next thing, what are 3 things? Okay, what are 5 things? And you just start knocking them out. And you'll get motivated because you'll see it happening.
Yeah. Oh
That's what
man,
I would
that's
do.
so good. And it's like if you're listening and you actually want to have a business that, can run without you, it's taking those steps and just starting like Kevin's saying, like a little bit every week, just a little bit every week. And you become more and more free. And, my goal that I think about all the time, Kevin, and any business that I'm in, I'm like, how do I become irrelevant for the business? Like I can
Yeah.
step in and help and like help it go faster when I want to, get involved. But I'm always like, what must be true for me to become irrelevant for the business, but to also grow at the rate that we want it to? And it's
Uh,
like,
I love that question. And the other question is kind of similar, but on the other side, what are two things I could do today that actually fucking matter? Like what moves needles? And just
yes,
do those two things. Because the rest of it's noise.
yes, yes,
All I think about is I think about doing one or two things a day that actually matter,
mm,
that I can do better, that I enjoy, that will push other people to do more. I don't need to do 17 things because if you have a to-do list of 17 things, you end up doing 7 of them. 10 of them never get done. Just focus on stuff that is going to move money, revenue.
yeah,
When you're a one-man show, you got to do it all. But you can do that thing and then say, okay, what could a second person part-time help me with to get some of these things off? Then, okay, could I make them full-time and take more? And so on.
hmm
But Cody, you got the thing. I mean, that's why you're growing. If you're trying to do everything, you can't go from 12 cars to 22 for the
yeah,
cleaning. You never get there.
no,
We need
absolutely.
mind space. We need free space.